Hi everybody, it's me Meg Ray, and today I'm going to be building a Minecraft Bowser. To start off, I'm going to map out where the legs will go, and the tail, and the angle of the body, and I'm going to do this all by hand, and it's creating kind of a wire frame for this. Now once I had this down, I didn't actually do the same thing for the arms or the head because this was just to help me get started. And once I have those starting to look kind of like how I want them, I'm going to add some spheres. I'm kind of thinking of it like I'm adding clay to my sculpture, and then later on I'm going to smooth it over and fine-tune everything. So I started with the legs and the tail, and I'm leaving the back purposefully open since it's going to be covered with the shell later, so there's no need to fill that space in at the moment. Now I'm starting building out his arms with some spheres and just making them really big and bulky because I can always go back and fine-tune everything, which is what I'm doing here. I'm smoothing out all of my shapes and trying to get them to look correct. Sometimes I can be very picky with my builds, so I'm going to do all the smoothing by hand. So that process did take a long time, and I'm constantly going back and adding in more clay, if you will, and smoothing it over again. It's a never-ending battle for me trying to get my shapes just right. So for the belly here, I added a bunch of big spheres, but then I went back and smoothed it all over, trying to make it look as symmetrical and consistent as possible. I also added this brown block on the top center of his body, and that's just a little marker that I put there to kind of give me an idea of where the head would go. So if you see that little brown block up there, that's what that's for. Even though the rest of Bowser is huge, the scale of the hands is quite small, so trying to get these fingers to look as realistic as possible was a little bit challenging, but I'm always up to a challenge. Now that I have the body shape complete, I'm going to add some color on his belly, and I'm also going to give it some ridges to give it a little bit of a texture. And then away from the body, I'm going to start building his head, and I'm going to start off by placing a giant green sphere and then just working on half of his face after that, and then I can just copy it to the other side once that side is looking great. I'm just going to start with the initial head shape because I'm going to do the details of this build last. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that into place using my little block that was placed before as a marker of where it needs to go. Now it's time to go around the back and start working on the shell, which is one of the biggest parts of this Bowser build. I'm going to start off by building the rim of the shell, and I'm using smooth sandstone for that. And then taking a large sphere brush, I'm going to just add in some large spheres. Because Bowser does not have a perfectly spherical shell, I have to go back by hand and reshape the whole thing, just like we did for the body. But this time I'm going to be working on just half of it because I do want it to be symmetrical. And then once I have that smoothed over, I copy and paste that to the other side, and now I can start adding some of the spikes. They have a little bit of a border on them that's kind of orangish red color, so I used orange terracotta and I made little circles trying to map them out. I had initially added 1 too many spikes on the left side, but I quickly found my mistake and removed one of them. There's supposed to be 3 on either side and 4 in the middle. So for the side ones, I only had to build those ones once, and the middle ones once, and then I just copy and pasted the left ones to the right. After cleaning up the sides of the shell, I overlaid the green part with some wool and concrete so that it had a mixture of blocks to give it more of a texture. Now I'm going to do all of the bands that are wrapped around Bowser's arms. He has 2 on each arm, and they all have spikes on them. And once I had those, I started working on his face and getting all the details with that. I worked inside his mouth, I gave him a tongue, and then I added some teeth, and tried to fine-tune the shape of his mouth. I added some eyeballs and eyebrows, and then his little mohawk of hair that he's got going there. And then to finish it off, I added his collar and his horns, and the horns were matching the spikes on the shell. After adding claws and extra texture to his hair and body, Bowser is complete. But I think I can do more with this build. I mean, what is Bowser without a giant platform to be standing on? Seriously, so I'm going to give him one. A large round one. Hopefully he'll fit on it okay, because he's rather large himself. The easiest way to do this is to make 1/4 of the circle first and then just copy and rotate it all the way around. I'm going to be using a lot of nether brick, red and purple, because I think it really matches Bowser's fiery personality. Before I copy and paste this 1/4 of the circle, I want to add a tower to the center of it. So I'm going to make this tower, and I'm envisioning this small tower that has lava dripping down the sides and maybe a giant flame coming out of the top, and it'll be really cool to see 4 of these on each corner of this platform. I'm also going to add a slight wall to the edges, and that's just to make the platform look like it's a lot thicker than it really is. And underneath the tower, I'm going to add a giant spike, since Bowser loves to decorate in spikes. So he's going to have 4 spikes on his platform once I copy and paste this all around. Now I have my 4 towers and 4 spikes. Time to add the fire. Now I'm going to add lava to the top of the tower and watch it drip down the sides. And then taking red, orange, and yellow glass and glass panes, I'm going to hand sculpt the flame. And I'm going to have it kind of blowing in the wind so it's a little more interesting to look at. And now I'm just going to repeat that same process on the other 3 towers. Now to finish off the platform, I want to add Bowser's face on the center circle. So taking a bright red color, I'm going to create a little pixel art of his face. Now I'm going to copy and paste Bowser onto the platform, but he seems really lonely up here, all by himself on this big platform. So I'm going to add Mario to this build. So I went ahead and created a little Mario, and I gave him a really silly expression where he's looking up at Bowser in great fear, and he has sweat and tears dripping off of his face. And he's looking straight up at Bowser, but Bowser isn't directly above him, so I needed to give him something terrifying that he was looking at. So using a bunch of stained glass, I decided to give Bowser a giant burst of flame that he was shooting out of his mouth, and goes right over Mario's head. And it's something that Mario can be terrified of. One more thing I'm going to add to this build is some cracks in the floor. This is going to give this platform a weathered look, and I'm just picturing a Bowser battle that's about to ensue, so I want it to look as epic as possible. That being said, once I had all the cracks placed, I filled them in with lava. And now Bowser's wrath can be fully unleashed, and a battle shall begin. Thank you so much for watching this video. I had a lot of fun building it, and thank you for the suggestion. Feel free to make more suggestions for the future, and I'll see you next time. Bye!